Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to give it a few seconds and let some students jump in. I know several of you have been waiting. We can hear the bells in the background. We have Dr. Kurt Onthink on campus right now, which is a rarity in the crazy crisis we're in right now. But it's refreshing to hear the bells on campus through his camera. We're going to be able to walk through some details about biology, our labs, experiences at Walla Walla, our marine bio lab station, all kinds of information. So I'm going to let Dr. Onthink take it away. He's an associate professor of biology, and he's the director of the Rosario Marine Laboratory Station. And so you have an excellent person in your stead right now, ready to give you a lot of details on biology. Kurt, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, sounds good. Hello. I'm Dr. Kurt Onthink. As Melissa told you, and like she told you, I am a associate professor here at Walla Walla University. One thing I just want to tell you first off is there is my name, there is my email address. If you're listening to this live, if you are listening to this after the fact, if it's been recorded, please, if you have questions that you don't get to ask me directly, send me an email. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about biology at Walla Walla University directly, or anything else like that. I'm going to put this up again at the end of the little talk here. And again, I have it up there at the end. But go ahead, you can give it back to me here. Hey. Okay, so hello. You can see me now. Hello, this is the outside of Rigby Hall. This is the biology department here at Walla Walla University. And it's actually kind of a nice area. Let me just give this flipped around because I want you to see the beauty of our campus here for a second. This is what you'd see from the biology department. This is Centennial Green. And if you flip it around here, it's actually a little bit hard to see the biology department this time of year because the trees begin leafing out and covering it up, which to me, I kind of enjoy that. So that is the biology department. And I'm going to be, flip this camera around real fast so you can see me again. So I'm going to take you on a little tour through here and talk to you a little bit about why I think biology at Walla Walla University is a special thing, why Walla Walla University is special. So let's talk a little bit about that. Now, as you're thinking about going to college, there's a lot of different reasons why you might choose a particular college. Your parents went there. It is close to home. You just had a really good feeling when you went on the campus. There could be a million reasons why you could pick a particular university. That being said, if you don't choose Walla Walla University, I don't want you to think it is because you're going to get a better biology education somewhere else. Go ahead and throw it up to the slide here really fast. I want you to really understand this. You will not get a significantly better biology education anywhere else. We have here at Walla Walla University a biology education that is as good, if not better, than any other university. Now, that might seem like a really bold claim to you for a few reasons, but I'm going to try to back that up with actual data. And I'll get to that at the end of this little tour here. I'm going to tell you first the reasons why I think, that's a little bit sun there, why the biology education is so good here at Walla Walla University and the reasons that make it so. Go ahead and flip on to the next one. So first off, one of our main points, one of our big approaches here to biology education at Walla Walla University is that you are going to learn this best by doing the things that we are teaching you about. So this has been demonstrated by empirical studies over and over again, is that students learn science best by actually doing science, by actually getting their hands dirty and getting out and doing the things that we are teaching you about in the classroom. And honestly, here at Walla Walla University, we are one of the best places for you to be able to do that. So go ahead and throw it on to the next slide here. One of the ways that we do this is by getting you involved and giving you the opportunities, if you want, to get involved in research as early as you want to be involved in research. All of our professors here on the Walla Walla University campus, we are all active in research, like not just kind of playing around research and kind of for, you know, our own enjoyment. We are doing research that is being published in peer-reviewed journals, that is being presented at local and national conferences. Let's go ahead and slide through a couple of these. This is me doing some octopus collection. I do my research on the physiology of octopuses, and yeah, I do a lot of scuba diving. I'm going to show you some lab more work in a little bit, but in this case, some scuba diving. Go ahead and go to the next one. That was an octopus in a den. This is one of our students that's actually measuring a sea cucumber. Looks like I cut off the sea cucumber there because, you know, sea cucumbers. Go ahead and go to the next one. And here we go. This is an octopus actually coming out of a bottle that we collected for our research. This is near our marine lab up at Anacortes. But go ahead and flip to the next one here. This is the real culmination of this, however, is that most of our students are doing research when they want to do research that is publishable, that will go on to actually contribute to human knowledge, like on a bigger scale. And they're presenting this at national research conferences. This is a student of mine that presented at the Society for Integrative and Comparative Biology in New Orleans a couple of years ago and had a very big, fairly good attended poster there. You can go on and flip on to the next one. And also a lot of regional conferences as well. This is Dr. Joan Red, another professor in our department, and she has all of us within the last 12 months have taken students to a regional or national conference to present their research. So all of us have students, have undergraduates in our labs doing this kind of research, and all of you, if you come to Walla Walla University, will have the opportunity to get your hands dirty actually doing the things that you, a lot of times you can only read about in a textbook in your classes. Go ahead and give it back to me here. So here is the main hall of the biology department. And one thing I want you to notice is up and down the hall, have on both sides here are posters like you just saw in those pictures that were presented at research conferences. And all of these have been presented within the last few years. If you look up and down our halls here, we have quite a few of them. A lot of students are presenting their work and actually being able to take the things that they're doing in the lab and in their classrooms, applying that to the lab, and then contributing new human knowledge through that. And so this is a great way for you to learn about biology, is actually doing it, getting into the lab and doing it. And, ooh, something fell in my pocket, excuse me. And also, not only is research good because it helps you learn better, but research experiences are the kinds of things that are going to give you that edge in getting into medical school, into getting into graduate school. When you get done with medical school, getting into a residency. We have had cases in which specifically med schools have asked our undergraduates about the kind of research that they were doing in their interviews, and their ability to sit down and talk about that competently with the interviewers gave them a huge leg up. And so that is one of the major things that we do here that is somewhat unique, just in the number of students that we can get involved in that, and the level to which our professors are involved in novel research. Okay, I'm heading up to another place here. Maybe go ahead and pull up the next slide here.
And while Dr. Onthank is transitioning slides here and headed to the next space, just as a reminder for you guys who are tuning in, there is a Q&A tab at the bottom of this page. Feel free to click on that and submit questions, and we will follow up with those questions at the end of this presentation. So anything that's not covered, anything you're curious about, feel free to enter that in the Q&A below.
Yes, please ask me questions. I do want to talk to you. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and pull up that slide.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking it was already pulled up. It did not screen share all the way.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so another thing that we do that's unique to Walla Walla University, and this is just some of the examples of ways that we take this concept of making sure that you are an active participant in science, not just a passive observer in the classroom of science, but an active participant in science, is the way that we have devised our junior cell biology sequence labs. The thing that happens here that makes us really unique is that during your junior year, instead of just going into the lab and doing kind of these canned labs, oftentimes college courses, you will have a lab section in which one time a week you're going to show up for about 3 hours and do some sort of experiment. And oftentimes there are these canned experiments where a million people have done these experiments before, and the outcomes are really well known. We know what should happen, and you'll probably be graded based on whether or not you get the correct results or something like that. In our junior cell biology lab, you take during that entire year, instead of going into the lab and doing some canned exercise that pretty closely relates to the things that you've been talking in class, you actually take on a year-long research experience where you will be doing molecular and cellular biology, having a project that is given to you and being mentored through the entire year on how to do this really great project and really novel project. One of the interesting things here is that no one knows the answer. Like, no human knows the answer to the experiments that you are doing. You are doing something completely novel. And that is really the kernel of science. The real core of biology is that you're out there exploring and discovering new knowledge. And that is one thing that you will be doing during your time here. And we've worked that into the cell biology lab. Go ahead and go into the next slide. Here's just another view of people doing, like, engaged in this. So all of our students come away with a nice suite of molecular techniques and cellular biology techniques that are not only good for getting you onto your next step, but can also procure you. Having these kinds of skills gives you a leg up in getting the kinds of opportunities that a lot of other places don't necessarily afford you. Go ahead and give it back over to me here for a second. So this is our cell biology lab. This is actually one of two of the cell biology labs right here. And it's a little bit messy at the moment, but I did want to take you through an actual cell biology lab because we are all shut down because of the COVID. We haven't been able to come through here and actually clean this place up. So you'll have to forgive it being a touch messy right now, but this is a good reflection of what an actual working molecular biology and cell biology lab looks like. And so a lot of things that we have around here, for instance, we have PCR machines. These are for amplifying DNA. You take a small amount of DNA, you make a lot of DNA using these. These are specifically called a thermocycler, and a lot of other things in here like that. And so typically we would have somewhere in the neighborhood about 20 students in here, kind of working away, trying to discover something novel, generally in the realm of genetics, in this lab. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that cell biology sequence is something that is very unique to us. Yeah, I'm going to go transit down to the next place. You want to go ahead and throw up the next slide there? One of the other things that we do that's really unique to us, and this might seem a little bit mundane to you right now, but we have found gives our students this really big edge going out into the world after they leave here. This is called a journaling club. This is something where there's a class that you take while you are at Walla University as a biology major. And what you do is we get you into this small class of no more than 8 students. And you're going to be meeting weekly with one of the professors, and every week you're going to be reading peer-reviewed papers in biology, actually reading the original science. And you'll be doing this week after week, and we will be training you, we will be bringing you up in the ability to read these papers and understand what is in them, and really developing that skill. Now that's not trivial. A lot of these papers are dense. They are not easy to get through. but they are the common currency in science. This is the smallest indivisible unit of scientific progress. If you are going to go into any field that is related to science in some way, whether that be medicine, whether that's actually going into science, whether that's going into public health, whether that's going into animal health, whatever you want to do, is ecology, is conservation. These papers are going to form the bedrock of correct practice in what you're doing. This is the origination of that. And so your ability to read and understand these papers, and not even just, when I say read these papers, it's not just reading the text, it's being able to look at the figures and interpret them and understand them. That's the kind of skills that we are going to be developing in you during this journal club. And this is the kind of thing that's going to come back and pay big dividends down the road. So one of the things, for instance, that the MCAT, you probably have heard that in the last, what was that, about 8 years ago, they completely overhauled the MCAT. You can go ahead and give it back to me now. And one of the main things that they changed about the MCAT is they changed it from a primarily knowledge-driven test to just trying to figure out how much knowledge do you have up in your head, to a test that tries to get at how do you use knowledge? How well can you synthesize and understand new knowledge? And that's a hard thing to test over, but that's one of the things that they're trying to get at. They're not just trying to get how much information do you know, but how can you think like a scientist, being able to think in a way that allows you to interpret and synthesize data. That's one of the skills that we are really developing with things like our journal club, things with our cell biology sequence, is getting you to the point and developing in you the skills to be able to interpret new data that you have never seen before. In fact, again, one of our students, several of our students, excuse me, have been in this situation, and med school interviews have been given figures of data that they had never seen before, and asked by the interviewers, what do you think about this? Can you tell us what your interpretation of this data is? And our students have done very, very well on those kinds of interviews because this was not new to them. This was something that they had been doing over and over again through their experience here by actually doing science. Just a little time, I just popped into another lab here. This is like on the other side of the building. I was walking most of that time that you're looking at the other slides. This is actually a research lab. This is the lab of Dr. Jim Nesser. I'm going to introduce you to all kind of virtually introduce you to all the professors in the department a bit later. But this gives you an idea of a more molecular oriented lab. I'll show you a few more. But I just kind of want to point out some of the equipment that we have as we're going through. One of them here is this sucker. This is a qPCR. Okay, so a qPCR is a reasonably expensive piece of equipment. What this does is this quantifies how much RNA or DNA is in a sample. Just as an aside, I wanted to point this out because it is a little bit timely. qPCRs, quantitative PCR machines, are the machines that you need to run COVID-19 tests. This is what they actually need to run those on, those test kits that have been so hard to get. When you get them, you run them on a qPCR. And that's, again, one of the kinds of things that you will be able to learn how to use at Walla Walla University is a qPCR, which is not something that typically a school of 2,000 students or less has. And so that's one theme here, is that oftentimes we're doing a good job of punching far above our weight in terms of the access to the research resources and training that we can give you. So this is one of the research labs. Okay, I'm gonna keep rolling on down here. Let me talk a little bit more about what makes biology at Walla Walla particularly special. Go ahead and throw it up to the next slide here while I go down to the next place here. So Walla Walla to me is a very, very special place. I did my undergraduate here. When I went off and did my did my master's here. I went off and did my PhD somewhere else. And when I was getting done, I had offers from many, for different universities. Many of them you're probably familiar with and heard of. But I was very excited to be able to come back because it very much hold on here. I'm going down here. I'm going to switch to Wi-Fi because I'm going to lose cell phone signal here. So if I start breaking up here for a minute, forgive me. 1 second here.
Some of our labs that Dr. Onthink is heading to are in the basement facility. So we're trying to get you guys a signal so that his audio comes through and picture comes through. We can give you a full tour of the facilities there. There are a lot of different places to do research. Hopefully we'll get a reconnect with him shortly.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Oh, good. Okay, good. I have made the transition successfully. Excellent. Okay, heading back down to the basement. Here we go. So, one of the reasons that I really believe in Walla Walla and what we do here is that
we're starting to lose you again, Dr. Onthink.
I haven't been to many other universities in which the types of and that students and faculty interact in such great ways. Also, the students interacting with each other. In a lot of places that you go, there is quite a bit of competitiveness between students. And that, especially among, like, for instance, pre-med students, is pretty common and ubiquitous. Again, other universities I've been at, I have seen this acutely, but this is not something that I ever saw to a great degree here at Walla Walla. Is always been a very collegial, very caring, very supportive and fostering community among the students, between the faculty and the students. And I really, one of the things that I feel bad that you actually can't be here is to be here and to get some small taste of that community that we have. One of the tangible outgrowths of that community is our biology club. Our biology club is this really great active student-led club that does a lot of really interesting and great activities all throughout the year. Our student organizations are I mean, it's really hard for me to put in words how unbelievable our student organizations are here on campus. And if I told you a lot about, like, exactly how I felt about it, you wouldn't believe me. You would think I am completely going into hyperbole. But we really do take it to a whole nother level in terms of the types of organizations and what they do and the kinds of experiences that they can give students here on this campus. And so just the community here that we have at Walla Walla University is absolutely unparalleled. Go ahead and throw it to the next one here. Another thing that we have, and I'm going to toot this a little bit because I think this is absolutely amazing that we have this, is Rosario Beach Marine Lab. Now, I am the director of Rosario Beach Marine Lab, so it is to some degree my job to tell you how amazing Rosario Beach Marine Lab is. But even if I was not the director, I would be telling you how great this is. Honestly, even if I was not a faculty at Walla Walla University, I would be telling you how amazing Rosario Beach Marine Lab is. Let me just give you a sense of how rare it is for us to have a facility like this. Now, we have 3 academic buildings there. We have Lindgren Hall, we have Booth Hall, and then we have an unnamed hall that we sometimes just call the Boathouse. We have these 3 large academic buildings. We have 25 cabins that actually can take quite a few people. The largest of them actually accommodate over 10 people. Just these really, really great facilities there. Regularly, we have 50 to 60 people going out there every summer to do research, to take classes, and and just really getting into science in a way that few people rarely are able to do. And so go ahead and throw it to the next image I think I have 2 slides on here, Rosario Beach Marine Lab. Here's by the way, this is a view at sunset of Rosario Beach Marine Lab from the cafeteria. This is your view from the cafeteria of Rosario Beach Marine Lab. Now, as a biology major, you would have an opportunity to spend a summer, and more if you want, at Rosario Beach Marine Lab taking some of your biology elective credits out there. And let me tell you, even aside from the amazing place that this is, the amazing setting that this is, it is an educational situation like none other. You are taking classes all day, every day. And that might seem like a drag at first. Like, I'm in this beautiful place and all I'm doing is taking classes. These are classes that get you immersed in the area around you, that get you immersed into what it is like, or kind of all the riches that you have at your fingertips. Also, you are doing this in the context that all of you, your fellow students, are living in close quarters together. Your faculty are in cabins, they're on campus together. You are eating breakfast together, you are going to classes together with your faculty, with your fellow students, eating lunch together, going out and exploring the environment in the afternoon together, eating supper together, worshiping together in the evenings. It is the kind of learning community that is really rare to take a part of. Even if you discount the really amazing location, the type of educational opportunity it is just completely unparalleled. I did this as an undergrad. This is one of the things that sold me on being a biologist, was going to Rosario Beach Marine Lab for a term. And I think I learned more in my 8 weeks there than I have in any other 8 weeks of my life. It was because of the situation. It essentially supercharges the learning that you were doing. It is really amazing the kind of environment that we have there. So that's the kind of thing that is completely unique. Now, I just want to also kind of tell you, how unique is this? So Rosario Beach Marine Lab is a member of the National Association of Marine Labs. And you have to be a certain level of being an active marine lab to be in there. Now, there are 120 member marine labs in the National Association of Marine Labs. Of those 120, only three of them are operated by colleges or universities with less than 2,000 students, and we are one of those 3. And the other two of them are these institutions with like north of $1 billion in their endowment. Like, they're small, but they are insanely well off and rich. And the kinds of institutions that are not necessarily like Walla Walla University. For us to have a facility like this is a complete blessing of God. We had it's not like amazing planning led to us having this necessarily. It was divine providence, and we are essentially completely unique in being a type of institution that we are and having a learning facility like this. And so I just want to put that extra plug in there for Rosario Beach Marine Lab. Okay, go ahead and throw it back to me here for a moment. So here we are in now my lab. So like I said, I am a marine biologist. I study octopuses. And particularly what I'm interested in is in how ocean acidification affects octopuses. Ocean acidification is this process that as we put more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, much of that is being sucked up into the oceans, and carbon dioxide plus water makes carbonic acid, and that's making the oceans more acidic. So essentially we are doing this huge experiment on our oceans right now. We have no idea how it's going to turn out. And so a lot of marine biologists like me are trying to figure out how is ocean acidification going to affect certain organisms. So that's the kind of research I do. One thing that you might notice here is that my lab is messy. It's a little bit messier than the other labs that you've seen. It might not be the typical kind of research lab that you might have in mind, but take my word for it, I get a lot of work done in here. I am regularly able to submit papers for publication out of this lab. And I really enjoy what I do because it's a mix of engineering and really kind of every different aspect of biology. I do genetics in my lab, genomics in my lab. I do physiology in my lab. I do behavior in my lab. I have this really wide swath of stuff that I get to do in my lab. And so it's really great. A couple things I just want to point out here too, because I am pointing out a few bits of equipment here and there. I have a lot of electronics here that I am building ocean acidification equipment with. As an aside, I have designed and built a lot of my own ocean acidification equipment in coordination with the engineering department here on campus. And I think I have now 4 or 5 other labs, including state labs, that are running the equipment that I designed here on campus. They are running my ocean acidification equipment that I designed on their own campuses. And so we're doing things that other universities want to get a hold of and want to do as well. A couple things here. This might just seem like a ho-hum computer, maybe a little bit big and clunky. This is our genomics computer. So we actually do genomics and transcriptomics work here at Walla Walla University. Again, it's something that you won't find many people at a school of 2,000 students doing. And so this is actually a 20-core machine, because oftentimes when we're running the kinds of data that we have from that, we generally get, for instance, my last transcriptomics project, we sequenced approximately 4.5 million sequences of octopus RNA, and that came out in text files to be roughly 6 gigabytes of data. And then all of that data was processed on all 20 cores of this genomics computer. This is not something kind of thing that you can find in lots of places. In addition to that, we have this hold on here. This is a high throughput DNA sequencer. This is a Oxford Nanopore MinION. One run on that will take a couple days. It actually hooks up to the computer by USB, and this thing can actually sequence 15 times the human genome in just a couple days. And so that's the level of sequencing that we can get. It's kind of amazing that they come in that small package now. We actually have a student here on campus right now that is trying to sequence the genome of the sea cucumber, in part using that. So we're doing that kind of stuff here on campus. Let me just toss it over. And I do want to show you, before I leave my lab, an octopus. But before I do that, I've been talking to you a lot about, well, these are the kinds of things that we do here on campus. And I can tell you a lot about, well, hey, I think this is a really great way to teach science. I can tell you that, hey, empirically, the studies have been saying that this is a really good way to teach science. But, then the question is, well, hey, does any of that actually work? What do you have to show for that? So go ahead and pull up a couple slides here, the next slides. And I want to show you a little bit of actual data about how it is working. How does this actually work on our campus? Does it work well? Do we have? So yes, it's all great in theory, but how well does it work? So med school acceptance. Over the past 10 years, every year we've had over 80% of our students that want to go to med school be accepted into med school. And in 6 of those years, it's been over 90%. So we have a very high success rate of getting students into med school. However, I'm just going to kind of caveat that, because these are not necessarily the greatest numbers to look at when you're looking at schools. No one external to the school actually keeps those numbers. And so every school can actually calculate that slightly differently. Like they can calculate, well, we're going to count as how many were competitive to get into school or something like that. So when schools give you these med school acceptance rates, they are not necessarily comparable numbers to each other. It all depends on how they choose to calculate. I think there are some better ways to calculate, but this just being said, we are doing very well, very, very well with getting students into med school. Go ahead and go to the next slide here. Another way that is external to us is something called the Major Field Assessment Test. This is a test that every college senior takes all across the country. And so everyone graduating is taking this. And this gives an external metric about how well we are teaching in our program. And they actually categorize you by the whole class, like your graduating class, what percentile were they in? And so our graduating classes have been above the 90th percentile in biology college graduating classes 18 of the last 25 years. So we've been in the top 10% of our students being able to demonstrate their biological knowledge 18 of the last 25 years in that top 10%. And this is not just like Advent schools or private schools. This is essentially all schools in the United States. And 8 of the last 10 years, we have been above that 90th percentile threshold. So that's another way. That is not us keeping those numbers. That's not us choosing some way to calculate that. That is an externally derived metric outside of us. Okay, let's go to the next one here. There is another metric that is being kept called the Institutional Yield Ratio by the National Science Foundation. Essentially, all it means is how many of your students out of 100 go on to successfully complete a science PhD. And it actually turns out that Walla Walla does very, very well in this metric. Over 2 out of 100 of all of our, not just science graduates, but all of our graduates go on to successfully complete STEM PhDs, which puts us in kind of a nice high tier when it comes to comparing us to other schools. Again, this is not a metric that we are keeping. This is the National Science Foundation keeping these metrics. Go to the next one. So among Advent schools, we do really great, but you might say, well, there's other schools out there. Well, in the state of Washington, of the 20 or so institutions of higher education in the state of Washington, Walla Walla University is number 3 in the state of Washington. Other universities, like the flagship research institution of the state, University of Washington, is looking up at us in terms of how well we prepare our students to go on and complete STEM PhDs. So we are doing very, very well. And I would argue that you will not get a better STEM education, a better biology education from any school out there. You will get it as well from us as anyone else. And some of these other institutions that are above us in this, yes, they do very well. They're in good schools like University of Puget Sound, Whitman College, but also they are insanely more selective than us as well. If you want to come to Walla Walla University, you will very likely absolutely be able to come to Walla Walla University. We are not insanely selective. We are almost taking all comers. UPS, Whitman only take the very, very upper tier of students that are applying to their schools. They are very selective, which means they are starting off with very gifted students, and yes, they go on to do very well. We do very well. We do very well with everyone, not just the absolute best and brightest that are coming to us. We do well with everyone. Okay. So, yeah, maybe throw it back to me here. So all of that, I'm just trying to let you know that if you want somewhere that gives you a great biology education, if that is the top thing on your list about where you're going to choose to go to school, you will not be served badly by coming to Walla Walla University. I can tell you that we will provide you as good of biology education as anywhere in North America. And I think we have the credentials to back that up. So there are a lot of reasons that you might choose one school over another, and I understand that. And I mean, I chose, let me just give you a side here. I didn't choose to come to Walla Walla because it was a great biology education. I chose to come to Walla Walla because my girlfriend came here, and she's now my wife. So it turned out to be a very good decision, and I got really lucky. I chose completely aside. In fact, I started off with biology major, so I wasn't even like I wanted to be a biologist when I started here. But I got really lucky that I ended up in some place that prepares us so well. And every place that I have gone since I left Walla Walla University before I came back here, I did exceptionally well. I felt insanely well prepared compared to my peers coming out of all institutions from across the university, from across the nation. We'll say, from wherever they were coming from. I felt as well, if not better prepared than anyone else that was around. So Walla Walla University's education served me very, very well. And if you want it to, it will serve you really well too. We can do a great job of preparing you to go on to the thing that you want to do next. So let me show you one more thing here. I say octopuses, so I'm going to show you an octopus because I think they're amazing. Let's see if they're out, actually. It might be loud here. Oh, there is one out. I'm going to flip around my screen here. I'm in a cold room. There's a fan going because we keep the water here like the North Pacific. I'm going to flip around the camera here. Here we go. There's one of my study organisms there, a small octopus. This is a ruby octopus. That's about as big as they get. They're small. I say a small octopus because they're way easier to keep in the labs than the giant Pacific octopuses that we commonly have also in the North Pacific in Washington. And yeah, he's a little bit timid right now because they don't particularly like people a ton hanging out around them. They're small, they're kind of scared. But yeah, I find these one of the most amazing creatures on Earth. They can change color, they can change shape. They're virtually all venomous. They can drill holes through hard-shell prey, and that's not even to get into how insanely smart they are. They are incredibly, incredibly smart. So, with that, Melissa, do we have any questions? I might go out here because it's a little bit loud. I imagine it might be hard to hear me in here.
We have one question that's come in so far.
Okay.
And if we have just a couple minutes, if you guys have questions, be sure to pop them in now, but we'll want to close up in the next like 3 minutes or so. So if we want to run through a blitz of faculty, we can, or if we want to, I'll let you know what our one question is.
Okay.
And that was about Rosario, which was how do students pay for summer school at Rosario? Is there financial aid available? How does that play out?
So there's a handful of different ways. Sometimes you can structure your financial aid in which some of it will be applied towards summer. Honestly, that's pretty individualized depending on what the financial aid package looks like for every individual student. So that's the kind of thing that you'd need to talk to your financial aid counselor about. I can't really speak to how it works for every student. We also have some scholarships available as well. And many of our students get partial scholarships to go out there as well. Every year we sit down, we have essays that students write in to apply for those scholarships, and we choose several as in 10 to 15, well, maybe as low as 8 some years, depending on how many people we have apply. We choose quite a few students every year to receive some partial scholarships as well to be able to go out to Rosario. And the funding for that, we've been pretty aggressive about trying in the past few years to increase our scholarshiping ability for Rosario as well. And so that funding every year has been increasing. And I think, just in the time that I've been here, I think the amount of scholarships that we hand out for Rosario has doubled. And I've been here for 7 years. And so it's doubled, and I think about that amount of time. And I don't see that trajectory changing because we've been pretty aggressive about trying to get those scholarships funding over the last few years.
That is our only question. Do you want to run through the faculty slides real quick? Sure,
let's go ahead. Let's talk about our faculty slides. Let's introduce you to the different faculty here. This is Dr. David Lindsay. He is the chair of the biology department, and yeah, he studies genetics. Particularly, he's interested in developmental genetics and studies dictyostelium, which is a slime mold, which does some really, really interesting things. It can go from like a unicellular organism to a multicellular organism, and he is really interested in how that process plays out. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is Dr. CJ Brothers. She is the newest faculty here. She does some really, really interesting work with environmental change and how, especially echinoderms and a few other things, are adapting to environmental change. Right now, she's studying eelgrass wasting disease and how that's transmitted
in the North Pacific. So eelgrass wasting disease is a disease that these grasses that live in the ocean that form these eelgrass meadows, they're really important for the development of young marine life. They're getting this eelgrass wasting disease. It's wiping out entire meadows of it. She's trying to figure out how it is spread. As an aside, that picture of her was taken in Antarctica. She spent some time in Antarctica doing research, which makes me very jealous of her because that's like one of the top places I want to go in my life. Okay, go ahead and go to the next one. This is Dr. Joan Redd. She's an immunologist, so she's interested in how the immune system works. In particular, her research looks at how does the immune system, or specifically how does the body recognize a particular kind of brain cancer, a 9L glioma, and yeah, her research is centered on that. So she's essentially a cancer immunologist, doing some really interesting work with that. Go ahead and go on to the next one. There's Dr. Jim Nestler. He studies sea cucumbers, which are, I'll keep a straight face and say this, really interesting creatures. Okay, I'm just joking there. They actually really are. Every year they completely atrophy. They degrade all of their internal organs and grow them back. And so he's really interested in how in the world can they do that? How in the world can you dissolve away all of your internal organs and sit there for a month or two with no internal organs and then just grow them back? How does that work on a molecular level? Why in the world do they do that? Because still no one knows even why they do that. Okay, really interesting work there. Go ahead and move on here. And this is Dr. David Cowles. He is another marine biologist, is out with us at Rosario essentially every summer. He is really interested in environmental physiology like I am, and he also studies some animals that live on eelgrass. He particularly has been interested in the isopods that live on eelgrass, but actually his interests are super diverse. I did my master's with him when I was a master's student studying octopuses. He's worked with people on freshwater mussels and is currently actually has some funded research with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife or the National Park Service. I don't remember exactly which one. Looking at invasive clams at Lake Ozette, Washington. That's one aside. We're talking about the level of actual research that we have going on in this department. We only have 6 people in this department, 6 people, but 4 of us have gotten external, like fairly major external research grants over the last 5 years. And that's been somewhere between a total of $300,000 to $400,000 has come into this department through external research grants, including one to Dr. David Cowles, to say that, but we are having people from outside our own departments, from outside Walla Walla University, saying that we want to put significant money into the research that you are doing there. And oftentimes, many times, undergraduate students are one of the main beneficiaries of that. One of those research grants was one that I got to say ocean acidification and octopuses. And it actually turned out that over half of that grant, that was about a little over $100,000, over half of that grant went directly into paying undergraduate students over the summer to work on that research with me. So that's my comment side. So that is Dr. David Cowles. Okay, again, here's my contact information. If you want to ask me any more questions, if you're too shy or you're watching this recorded, please email me, reach out to me. I'd be happy. If I can't answer your question, I will get you in touch with a person that can. So please get a hold of me if you have any questions. I'd love to talk to you. Oh, it looks like we have one more question that popped up. Do you have time?
Yes. We
Okay.
have like 30 seconds of what you feed the octopus.
Okay, I feed the octopuses a whole bunch of things. I feed them mostly clams around here because you can actually get live clams in any kind of grocery store that sells clams. They're live, so I do them buy clams from the grocery store and then keep them in an aquarium here and feed them mostly clams. Sometimes I order in crabs for them, or snails for them, or goldfish for them. It depends on. So octopuses being really smart animals, they need to keep them entertained, which means varying their food. So their mainstay is clams, but then I get all sorts of other things for them to eat, or else being a really intelligent animal in a small tank, you have to keep them entertained. You have to keep them enriched. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Ahn. Thank you guys. The biology department at Walla Walla really is exceptional with the level of research you get to do, the level of contact you have with PhD level professors, with the ability that you have to present research and be involved in research, and with the stats that you saw here today. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our faculty, especially Dr. Onthank, who shared today. Thank you for joining us, and be sure you pop into the closing session at 7. There's some important stuff happening there, and we will see you in a few minutes.
Okay, goodbye.